Canada's universities, including the top public universities like McGill, are essentially cost
Yeah,
free. And I think
yeah,
like you attended, was it McGill or like one of the Canada's big schools?
yeah. No, I attended McGill, which is literally like a fantastic school, like almost for free, like a couple of $1,000s a year or whatever. And I'm deeply grateful for that, even just because you can kind of not know your major going in and stuff. Like I feel like in America, if you make the wrong choice with your major or career, like it can be like a hundreds of thousands of dollars mistake.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. Yeah, it's true.
Yes. So it's like, I mean, that's just I don't know. I kind of didn't fully comprehend the situation until I came to America and met people, and it was like, damn, like I got to like try out a few different things before I, you know, chose my major. So
I think this
um
is one of the main reasons we think Canada is more rational is that your education is paid for and you're not taking 18, 19-year-olds and loading them up with debt and then stressing them out about making life
yeah,
decisions when they
life
should be
decisions.
exploring.
Yeah, I mean, I like did not know what I wanted to do at 18 or 19, like absolutely not. So well actually I did want to be a musician, but I didn't think that was a reasonable career path to pursue. So it ended up working out. But yeah, no, it's like it just seems crazy that you should be saddled with an insane amount of debt for decisions you're making before you even really know who you are.
Before your brain is
Um,
fully wired, seriously, it's highly nonsensical, and people are paying for it here. So you knew you wanted to be a musician. Did you have a sense of the medium? Like, did you think I know it's going to be electronic, or like you'd be the vocalist, or did you dabble with instruments, or what was the story there?
I actually never made music because I didn't think I could or should. And then but I was just like an obsessive music fan, like super, super, super obsessive. And then actually in my neuroscience course, or I was in I was sort of studying music in the brain. And we actually had a class where we had to learn logic and like make a song overnight and bring a song to class the next day to prove we'd like learned the audio recording software. And that's when I kind of started making music because I like yeah, the class provided free audio software, and then I just sort of like went down the rabbit hole with
Whoa,
that.
that is
Yeah,
wild. So
yeah.
what year in college is that? How old are you?
That would have probably been 2009 or 2010. And then I basically the first music I made kind of went viral, which was both a blessing and a curse because like there's a lot of footage of me like it literally learning how to make music. I've been making music for less than a year and I'm like on stage and stuff. Um, there's some yeah, pretty awkward video of me like being like, I accidentally turned the SP404 off. Sorry guys. And people but yeah. So
Well, certainly at that point, your career starts taking off, and you end up making a career move, which anyone would have in your position. I think the most fascinating thing about your music is that it really feels like you're transported to another world. Like
have you actually listened to my music?
I have actually listened to your music, but I will confess to you, Grimes, that like
Friend.
if I just listen to your music, I feel like I'm not getting the right experience. Like I feel like I have to be watching the video in order to be. Is like I'm not sure how many of your fans feel the same way, but
I mean,
because
I kind of feel that way. So I don't know. I'm glad you feel that way. I think, yeah,
yeah, because you're such a visual artist, and there are such striking visuals. Again, you feel transported to another world for like a lot of your videos and songs, and so I feel like they all go together in a way that makes them more complete. Like if I'm just listening to the music in a car or whatnot, like I just feel like, oh, well, let me wait until I can be someplace and like watch the video on my phone. I mean I don't know if that's everyone's attitude, but for whatever reason, that's the way I've experienced your music.
I mean, I'm usually thinking of videos like almost all my best songs. I was like, ooh, imagine if I'm like imagine a scene or something. Because I direct a lot of the videos myself or co-direct them with my brother, and then kind of make the song around that. So um, it is, I think, core to the music. And speaking of the Canadian government, part of the reason I was able to even do that in the first place, like being super small and on an indie label, was the Canadian grant system, which America is maybe too big to have art grants. I don't know, but that's another thing that I super appreciate about being born in
What an
Canada.
what I mean, I didn't know this, but what an incredible story. You're like the product of the public education system, and then you had some kind of art grants to make some of your first videos that helped launch you. So there are programs like that in the United States, but not in the way you're describing. I don't believe. Like anyone who's an artist listening to this is like, I haven't seen an art grant in my life in the United States.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
the people who are saying that are generally correct. There
yeah,
is a
yeah,
national endowment for the arts, but it would not go to an independent musician that's trying to make a video. Like it might go to a museum or an art display. Not that there's anything wrong with those things, but that's an incredible story of the government coming through.
I know that's why I'm like, I mean, if you look at the American music in general, like so many of the artists are Canadian or Swedish or whatever, like I do think there is, you can like see a direct correlation between the grant system and public funding for the arts and, you know, um, like, I don't know, whatever, the Weekend, Bieber, it's Drake, um,
Yes.
yeah.
I was
Um,
just at Saturday Night Live, and I was hanging out with Jim Carrey, and it just struck me that he's another uh,
oh yeah,
super
yeah,
Canadian who like came down and took over, showbiz. So it's true, like the Canadian influence is very strong everywhere. One of the things that I found out when I was running this entrepreneurship organization, Venture for America, was that artists have the same impact on a community's economic development as entrepreneurs. Like if a bunch of artists move to a community and then you wait X years, that community will end up having economic growth, new businesses, revitalization in the same way as
interesting.
if a group of entrepreneurs went. And this is a major problem for the United States because in the United States, arts are treated not as an economic driver, but as something of a luxury or frivolity, in
Yeah,
part
yeah,
because of what you're describing, where you show up to college and then anyone who says they're going to study art or music would be like, "Are you out of your minds?" And
yeah,
people get funneled towards quote unquote these more practical things, when in truth, and you and I talk about this, like in the future, we have to be investing much more energy in arts and creativity, because AI and technology are going to do a lot of like the bookkeeping and accounting and like the practical stuff that that
yeah.
that people feel like is a safer career. I mean, a lot of this stuff is going to change pretty quickly.
Yeah, although I do actually think like at least music is democratizing really fast, in part due to the tech companies, like um, GarageBand being free on an Apple computer or whatever. Um, I actually like I think you can actually record like I think like Billie Eilish said she recorded her album in her house or whatever. Like it is the technology is kind of getting to a place where I think in it's just getting a lot more democratic. Like you don't need, it used to be that you needed to be just really fucking rich or on like a label that's going to spend, hundreds of thousands of dollars to make an album. And um, I think it's interesting because you're just seeing the amount of artists making music ballooning right now, um, which is cool. But then it's its own drama. Because I was actually just talking to Daniel Ek, who runs Spotify, and they're like, there's 7 million artists on Spotify or whatever. Um, and like they feel like they can like maybe make it so that like 1 million artists can make a living off music, which is still
But
a lot.
not 7 million. Yeah, yeah.
Not 7 million.
But
I'm
then
probably it's gonna like double. Like there's probably gonna be more than 7 million. Um, but I don't know. Like I wonder. I mean, I know you're really into like UBI and stuff. Like I wonder if there's ways to like if everything is automated, like if there's sort of AI and machines kind of like doing almost every sort of menial job or whatever. Like, is there a world in which if companies aren't paying employees, they can be taxed more, like because of all the extra, in theory, all the extra revenue they'd be making while not having to pay, yeah, but not
workers.
having to pay. Yeah, yeah, and like, could that be like, I don't know. I'm actually curious about like UBI. Like I haven't read that much about it. Like I'm not like I don't know what the specifics would be, like how it would be accomplished or whatever.
Uh, I'm really passionate about a lot of elements of this. Where right now, so and you know this much better than I do, and you're like an ultra successful popular artist. but a lot of artists are dependent upon actually performing live and touring in order to make
Yeah.
money, make a living. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Even
And
me, kind of. Yeah.
yeah, for you too. I mean, like you understand this better than I would, but the digital royalties from like a Spotify are really pretty minimal, even for
Yeah.
folks who are getting tons and tons of downloads and views. Like I forget what the math is, but it's something like a I don't know, like a tenth of a penny or something ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like maybe you get a few cents, and so there are artists who might get millions of downloads, who are struggling to get by
You know, it's
because
like it's actually yeah, it's pretty insane. I mean, I wouldn't say it's just an issue with the streaming services. I think the labels are a huge part of this too. I mean, in music, there's just a lot of middlemen. Like, once you have like, business management, lawyer, manager, booking agent, label. Personally, I think labels pay too much, but at the same time, a label can also throw a lot of money down on an artist and it can fail. So it's like, I'm not really sure what the solution is, but I do. The situation in music worries me. Like, I know artists that are pretty successful that are like broke.
and that's not right.
Yeah,
Like these
yeah.
are folks who are
Like people
adding
with
a lot of
millions of plays. Like they're like popular artists. Like so, it's yeah. Um, I feel like we need to sort of like do something about the middleman situation, but then I don't. Yeah.
there is a cost structure where you have an industry that came of age in a time when there was a lot more money flowing through. Because I'm old enough to remember going to Tower Records and like the CD stores and whatnot. That you were like buying this. Don't know. A lot of times you were buying an album for like one or two good songs too. It was like like
Yeah,
that was
yeah,
like the
yeah.
way it was packaged. So you do have some legacy costs. Another big problem though is that we've conditioned consumers to pay one streaming fee, and that's it. You know what I mean? It's like if I paid for Spotify, then I want all my music for free.
Yeah.
And then the only way you can get more money out of them is to show up in their town and perform, which is okay. I mean, now it's not okay because no one can perform. But I think that there's so one of the solutions I had, and you can imagine this as like universal basic income. So universal basic income is the government giving everyone money, and if we did that, then musicians would make more music and they wouldn't be starving to death, and people would have more money to patronize them and support them. But I think the move we have to make is something where we empower consumers to pay artists directly just by virtue of listening to them or having their attention. Like every American has like 100 music bucks or media bucks that they have in any given month. And by virtue of them listening to you, you actually get maybe whatever the streaming like pennies are, but you get like a micro fraction of that person's music bucks for that month times all of the folks that listen to it, and then all of a sudden the money that goes to these 7 million artists in Spotify like goes up significantly. This is like a revved up version of these public grants you're talking about, where instead of giving it to the artist, we give it to the consumer, so that when the consumer listens to a musician or supports a musician, then the musician gets rewarded. Like you would need some kind of system like that, which is actually very doable. Like it's much more doable now than it would have been in another time.
Yeah, or even, I was listening to a podcast. Do you know the Revolutions podcast, Mike Duncan?
I don't listen to it, but I've heard of
It's
it.
it's an incredible podcast. But it's like he seems so like stressed. It's always just and like Harry's razors and all this. And I'm like, why can't there just be a donate a dollar? Like, why can't I just buy it?
Yes, just donate the dollar. And like watching
Like,
artists scramble for this stuff too, and be like, hey, support me on Patreon, support me on this and that. It's like it's like if I enjoy your stuff, you should just be getting value from me.
I just feel like every single streaming service, like even like YouTube or whatever Spotify, there should just be a little thing at the side of like the song or the
Yeah.
podcast or the video. And it's like, I just want to donate a dollar to this. Because another thing that I was thinking about a lot is music videos, for example. And I know you wanted to talk about K-pop, which I think is sort of anyway, so like the music video masterclass at the moment. But
Yeah, they've taken it to a whole nother level. It actually reminds me of your stuff where it's very transporting, but go on.
but it's like, so music videos, there isn't a direct uh you don't directly profit from a music video. You like pay for a music video and you just like hope to God like it makes the song take off or whatever, and that you can like earn the money back on the video. And like I think this is, it's kind of sad because it's like I feel like the art of music videos would be respected more if like you could pay for them in an easier way. Like when I see a fucking fantastic music video, I'm like, damn, like why can't I just give them $2 or $5? Like, you know,
There are so many problems that are tied into this. But one problem is that our attention is being monetized in various ways. We're conditioned not to
yeah,
pay, but then we pay this hidden price because you're selling ads and you're selling my data and you're doing all this stuff.
yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
particularly in the social media world. I mean, a lot of this music we're talking about is on YouTube. Like freaking, YouTube tries to monetize us through ads, and they've got very effective algorithms and rabbit holes.
Yeah.
And some of that stuff's not great. Like there's a joke that you're always 3 clicks away from a conspiracy theory on YouTube.
Yeah.
Like you'll
Yeah.
start out watching a video, then you'll wind up, watching some crazy video about pizzerias or whatever. Thank you for listening in. I hope you enjoyed this conversation. If you did, please do subscribe to Yang Speaks and click on notifications so we can let you know every time we have a new episode.